Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We're starting today's video with a customer who demanded cheese, screamed at the staff, and confidently walked off with the vegan version she swore she didn't want. Strap in. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. She insisted she knew better than the store manager and walked off with vegan cheese. I work as an assistant store manager at a supermarket, which if you've ever worked retail, you'll know is basically a breeding ground for entitled people. It's like we're hosting a daily convention for Karens and their overly confident sidekicks. Anyway, let me tell you what happened today. It's fresh, still steaming, and just too ridiculous not to share. So I'm in the middle of restocking shelves, just doing my job, trying to make sure the cheese section looks presentable and isn't the usual disaster it becomes after the lunchtime rush. That's when a woman comes up to me, mid-50s, sunglasses on indoors, big dramatic sigh, classic Karen energy from the jump. "Excuse me," she says in that sharp tone that makes your brain instantly prepare for battle. "Do you have insert specific obscure brand name cheese here?" I politely explain, "I'm sorry, we don't carry that exact brand, but we do have a few options that are really similar. Same texture, same style, just different label." I even gesture toward the alternatives like a helpful little retail elf. But that wasn't the magical cheese response she wanted. Instead of a thank you or even a no worries, she goes off on this whole dramatic monologue. Arms flailing a bit, voice steadily rising, yada yada yada. How can you not have bleep cheese? This is a grocery store, for crying out loud. What kind of place runs out of cheese? I try again, still calm, still helpful. "We don't stock that brand, ma'am, but this one right here is..." Before I can even finish, she cuts me off and stomps over to another section of the fridge like she's about to expose me for lying to her. And then she does the most theatrical point I've ever seen, complete with smug squint and a self-satisfied aha expression. "See, I knew it," she crows. "You just didn't want to help me. The cheese is right here." I walk over and take a look, and sure enough, I see what she's pointing at. I try to explain calmly, "Ma'am, that's not..." But she interrupts again with a barked, "I can read, thank you." And with that, she spins on her heel and struts away like she's just won an Oscar for Best Karen in a Grocery Store Meltdown. Now here's the part that makes this truly great. The cheese she so triumphantly found, the one she swore was what she came for, it was the brand she wanted, but what she didn't notice, because she was too busy proving me wrong, is that it was the vegan version. Yep, dairy-free, plant-based, not real cheese, which she had very loudly ranted about not wanting earlier. And the cherry on top, the giant green vegan label on the packaging, bold as day, screaming it in all caps. I just smiled and let her walk away. I watched her toss it into her cart with the kind of confidence you only get from gaslighting yourself into thinking you're always right. She strutted off like she had just single-handedly restructured our supply chain. Honestly, I didn't have the energy or the desire to correct her. I'm not getting paid enough to argue with someone who thinks customer service means you magically summon artisanal cheese from thin air. So you know what? Enjoy that plant-based cheddar, Karen. Hope it pairs well with your sense of superiority and lack of reading comprehension. Later, I told one of my coworkers the story, and we had a good laugh over it. "You think she'll notice?" they asked. "Only when it doesn't melt the way she expects," I said. There's a kind of quiet joy in watching someone get exactly what they demanded, especially when it's not at all what they actually wanted. Lesson of the day: don't scream at grocery workers. We're tired. We know where the cheese is. And if you think you're outsmarting us, you're probably just buying vegan. Get ready for when she comes back and complains that the cheese was recommended by you. You know it's coming. And our second story. Neighbor thought she owned the public parking lot until I called the city and got her car towed. It started with a grocery run. My mom and I pulled into a public parking lot near the town center, found a legal space, parked, and headed into the store. When we came back out, we stopped short. A sun-faded silver sedan was parked directly behind our car, bumper to bumper, completely blocking us in. No emergency lights, no driver, no note, just dumped there like we didn't exist. I walked around it, confused, and asked a guy nearby if he'd seen what happened. He looked up from his coffee and said, "Oh yeah, that lady lives 2 blocks down, does this all the time, thinks the lot's hers." So we headed in that direction, didn't even knock before the drama kicked off. A woman stormed out the front door like she'd been waiting for a fight, mid-40s, hair in a dry bun, cigarette half smoked and flapping from her mouth. "What the hell do you think you're doing knocking on my door?" My mom kept her voice calm. "Ma'am, your car's blocking us in. We just need you to move it." She crossed her arms. "It's a public lot. I can park wherever I want." "Right, and it being public means you can't block people in," I said. That set her off. She started shouting about how we were harassing her, how she was only parked there for a minute, how she'd totally have moved it soon. Sure, her front door was closed, her car was locked, and she was in her robe. Then the daughter joined the show. Same sour expression, same attitude, storming out barefoot like she was about to challenge us to a duel. "You got a problem with my mom?" she snapped at me. And that's when I gave her the finger, right to her face. Cue meltdown. Both of them lost their minds. Karen Sr. flailed like someone was stabbing her, and the daughter tried to lunge forward. Then Big Daddy Karen joined in, stomping out in socks, sporting a tank top stained with mustard or beer, maybe both, and yelling like he was calling plays in a football game. "You want to disrespect my family? I'll knock your teeth in." My mom stepped in front of me, trying to defuse things, but it was too late. The rage machine was fully operational. I didn't even blink. I didn't just flip off your daughter, I flipped off all 3 of you. That shut him up. For a second. Karen finally stomped off toward the lot, muttering the entire way about punks and entitlement. She dragged her feet like we were asking her to move a mountain, not her junk or car. She got in, didn't say a word, and reversed just enough to let us out before slamming the door and peeling off. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. A week later, I walked past the same lot, and guess who'd boxed in another car? Same silver sedan, same illegal parking, same middle finger to the world attitude. This time, I didn't bother walking to her house. I called the city's non-emergency line and asked about towing protocol. Turns out they loved that question. That lot was already flagged for repeated complaints, and they had a standing agreement with the local towing company to handle serial blockers. So I waited. Snapped a few photos of her car and the blocked vehicle. 15 minutes later, the tow truck pulled up like a chariot of justice. They started hooking up the sedan when I heard the distant slapping of cheap flip-flops on pavement. Karen was sprinting down the sidewalk in her robe again, full banshee mode. "Stop! That's my car! You can't do this!" The tow driver didn't even flinch. "Ma'am, it's obstructing another vehicle in a public lot. You'll need to talk to the city." "I know he called," she screamed, pointing at me. "You smug little crap." I smiled. "Didn't you say it's a public lot? Guess that rule works both ways." She stood there, red-faced, arms trembling, too stunned to keep yelling as her precious sedan got winched up and rolled out. She hasn't parked there since. Occasionally I'll catch her walking by, giving me the stink eye like I personally stabbed her tires. Public lot, Karen. Welcome to it. Parking directly behind someone in a public lot isn't just rude, it's delusional entitlement. The fact that she did this regularly and had a reputation for it makes it even better. She didn't just think rules didn't apply to her, she thought other people's time didn't either. And our last story. Pool, court, and losing her house. All because she wanted to swim. I always dreamed of living in a quiet corner of New Mexico, far from the hustle and bustle of big cities. Eventually, my wife and I bought a beautiful home with a pool in a peaceful suburb of City X. Our yard was enclosed by a tall fence so we could enjoy our privacy, but as always, things didn't go according to plan. Living next door was a woman named Karen, an active member of our local HOA. She needed no introduction, always dissatisfied, always dramatic, and constantly full of complaints and criticism. From day one, she made it clear that everything in the neighborhood should happen her way. One day, she approached me with a smug smile and casually informed me that she was planning a party by my pool next Saturday. "Sorry, Karen, but this is my pool in my yard. I never gave you permission for any party," I replied. Her tone changed instantly. She almost screamed, "Do you even know who I am? I'm the head of the HOA, and I do whatever I want around here. How dare you refuse me, you pathetic nobody?" I calmly explained that she had no such rights and politely asked her to leave. She slammed the gate, but the next morning I was served with a lawsuit for violating community rules and obstructing HOA activity. It was laughable and absurd, but I decided to stand my ground. The court proceedings didn't last long. When the judge read the case, he chuckled and asked, "Miss Karen, are you seriously claiming that you can use someone else's private property just because you're the HOA chair?" The case ended in my total victory. Even better, I was granted a court-issued restraining order preventing Karen from coming near my property at all. You'd think it ended there, but Karen wouldn't be Karen if she gave up so easily. About a month later, my wife and I left town for a week to visit my parents. Before leaving, I installed a few security cameras for peace of mind. On the fourth day of our trip, my phone app sent a motion alert near the pool. I opened the video and was stunned. Karen and some man were swimming in my pool like it was their private resort. "No way," my wife gasped, staring at the screen. The next few seconds made it even worse. They started having sex in the pool. I immediately called the police. The officers arrived within 10 minutes, right in the middle of Karen's romantic evening. I watched through the camera as they pulled her out of the water, her face burning red with shame and fury. "This is my pool, you idiots! You'll pay for this," she screamed. "No, this is the pool of the man who has a court order against you," the officer said sternly. But that wasn't the worst of it for Karen. It turned out the man she was with wasn't her husband. Her real husband was working a night shift at the emergency room. The next morning, I saw her husband, the same man who'd been my neighbor for years. He walked over and said, "I want to thank you. I've had my suspicions for a while, but I never had proof. Now everything's different." Soon after, I found out he filed for divorce. Thanks to irrefutable evidence of her infidelity, he was able to take everything: the house, the car, even their joint savings. Karen was forced to move into a small rented apartment on the far side of town. Now our neighborhood is peaceful again. My wife and I can enjoy our pool freely, knowing that justice was served in the most satisfying way possible. Karen wanted to turn my pool into her private party spot. Instead, she made it the scene of her ultimate downfall. Now Karen will swim somewhere else and won't be so arrogant. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.